Some minds don't sleep, they remember.
Tonight, we're not talking about the night. We're talking about a quiet afternoon where the familiar roar of the engine has vanished. A world without the pulse of gasoline, without the explosions of mechanical power that defined a century. The noise of civilization has fallen silent. But in that silence, can you hear it? The whisper of a coming future. A future of electric cars, of promises for a greener planet, cleaner air, and more peaceful roads. But don't be so quick to believe in that peace. Because behind the shiny metal shell, behind the glamorous advertisements, lies the biggest gamble of the 21st century. A gamble with hidden secrets, unrevealed costs, and ethical questions that might keep you awake at night. This isn't a story about cars, it's a story about our future and the true price of obtaining it. If you dare to face the hidden truths, hit subscribe and join me on this journey. The Forgotten Revolution. In the introduction, we were presented with a bold promise, a silent future, where city streets no longer tremble with the roar of internal combustion engines, a revolution called the electric car, with flashy ads promising a greener planet, cleaner air, and a ride as smooth as a dream. You might have thought, oh, this is what Elon Musk and the brilliant minds of Silicon Valley brought us. Electric cars, a symbol of the 21st century, of those who want to save this planet from ourselves, right? But my dear friend, prepare yourself, because I'm about to drop a truth bomb on you. Sit down, buckle up. Oh wait, seatbelts weren't common back then. And get ready for a historical shock. The electric car is not a brand new invention of the 21st century. No. It wasn't a gift from tech geniuses with messy hair and a Starbucks cup in hand. In fact, the first electric car glided smoothly on dusty roads long before Henry Ford put on his overalls and dreamed of his noisy, smoky Model T. Yes, you heard that right. Electric cars existed when the telephone was still a wild idea and social media was just a gathering in the town square. Tonight, we're not talking about a revolution coming from the future. We will travel back in time to discover a forgotten revolution, a brilliant dream that once lit up the streets of the 20th century. It's only to be extinguished, buried under the dust of a century obsessed with oil and the roar of the engine. Join me as we return to the 1900s, when the world wore corsets and fedoras, to find out why that dream died and how it is rising from its historical grave. Imagine you're in New York City, 1900. Forget the image of smoke-belching cars, shaking as if they have asthma. Instead, picture tree-lined streets where vehicles glide by without a sound, like elegant ghosts. No smoke, no acrid smell of gasoline, no need to swing a crank like a wrestler to start the engine. The first electric cars, like the Detroit Electric or the Baker Electric, were not toys for eccentric inventors. Oh no, they were symbols of luxury, of sophistication, like the iPhone of their era. Think of a car with an interior like an aristocratic drawing room. Red velvet seats, fluttering silk curtains, and even, can you believe it? A small flower vase mounted on the dashboard. This wasn't a car, this was a mobile palace. And who loved them most? Not the gentlemen with their proud mustaches who enjoyed wrestling with the cranks of gasoline cars. It was women. Those who society at the time considered too delicate to operate complex machines. Electric cars were different. They were easy to drive, required no muscle power, and wouldn't send you tumbling when you tried to start them. Clara Ford, the wife of Henry Ford himself, the man who would later become the father of the mass-market automobile, chose to drive a Detroit Electric instead of her husband's noisy machines. Even Thomas Edison, the great mind of the age, declared that the electric car was the future, the guiding light for a clean, quiet world. In 1900, did you know nearly a third of all cars on American streets were electric? A third. It was their golden age, a promise of a 20th century free of smoke, noise, and the need for oil wells. So what happened? Why did that beautiful dream shatter? Why don't we live in a world where every road echoes with the gentle hum of tires instead of the roar of engines? The answer, like many tragedies in history, is a story of money, power, and an invention that changed everything. The first enemy of the electric car came from Detroit itself. Bearing the name Model T, Henry Ford didn't invent the automobile. But he did something even more ruthless. He made it something anyone could afford. With the mass production assembly line, he transformed the car from a luxury toy for the elite into a vehicle that even a factory worker could own. The Model T was cheap, durable, and had a long range. But my God, it was as loud as a roaring bull, spewed smoke like a mobile factory, and starting it was like wrestling a bear. But the price didn't lie. A Model T cost only half, or even a third, as much as an electric car. And while electric cars could only go a few dozen miles before needing a charge, a process as slow as watching grass grow, the Model T could take you much farther, as long as you could stand the smell of gasoline and the firecracker-like explosions. But the real death blow came from something even more powerful than Henry Ford: oil. When massive oil fields were discovered in Texas in the early 20th century, gasoline became as cheap as water. Gas stations popped up like mushrooms all over America, while charging stations for electric cars were as rare and slow as a distant dream. Electric cars needed heavy, expensive batteries, and the technology of the time wasn't advanced enough to compete with the convenience of gasoline. The battle was decided. The internal combustion engine was crowned king. Oil became the new monarch, and the electric car was pushed into the shadows. They didn't die in an epic battle. They died slowly, quietly, forgotten like an old song, locked away in museums, becoming quirky antiques, small footnotes in history books, a road not taken, a dream buried. For nearly a century, the world ran on gasoline, lived on oil. The roar of the internal combustion engine became the heartbeat of civilization, the sound of progress, of speed, of power. We built cities, economies, and even wars around oil wells and refineries. We forgot, completely forgot, that there was once another possibility. A quieter, cleaner future where the streets weren't covered in smog, where children could breathe fresh air, and where the sky didn't have to pay the price for our ambitions. But then, like a movie with an unexpected sequel, something miraculous happened. In the early 21st century, the planet began to warm. The air in cities became suffocating, as if the earth itself was coughing, pleading for help. The price of oil was no longer as cheap as it once was, and the world began to realize the true cost of its dependence on gasoline. That's when the ghost of the forgotten revolution began to rise from its historical grave. Small-time inventors, bold startups, and then even tech giants started to look back at that old idea, the idea of a car that runs on electricity. Tesla launched its Roadster in 2008, like a punch straight to the face of the auto industry. But they weren't the first. They were just the ones who reawakened the dream. The electric car revolution we are witnessing today is not a beginning. It is a revival, like a forgotten main character in a novel, now returning to the stage with a new look. The electric car is not an invention of the 21st century. It is an abandoned past, reclaiming the place that rightfully belongs to it. This dream has died once before, and this comeback is not simple. It brings new challenges, new secrets, and new costs that we have never anticipated. Let's pause for a moment and think. Is history full of ideas ahead of their time? Dreams crushed by money, power, or simply our own laziness to change? Do you believe that a good idea, no matter how deeply buried, will eventually find a way to rise, like a flower through concrete? And if the electric car was the future 100 years ago, why did we let it fail? And are we wise enough this time not to repeat the mistake? Share your thoughts in the comments below. A like and a subscribe to the channel is your way of telling us that you too believe in silent revolutions, in dreams that never truly die. The past has returned, but it has changed. The electric car of 1900 was a mobile palace. But what about the machine of today? What lies beneath its shiny metal shell? In the next part, we will pop the hood of silence to discover the secrets, the challenges, and the ethical questions of the modern electric car revolution. Get ready, because the future is never as quiet as you think. Beneath the hood of silence? In the last part, we turn the forgotten pages of history, where the first electric cars, the glittering dreams of a bygone era, were buried under the iron heel of the oil empire. But like an immortal ghost, they have returned, stronger, bolder, ready to reclaim their throne in a world desperate for change. But how did the past return? What makes the machines of over a century ago, with their wooden wheels and clattering sounds, different from the silent beasts gliding on our streets today? To understand that, we must do something that every car enthusiast, from the grease-covered mechanics to the speed demons in polished suits, does with endless passion: pop the hood. But when you lift the hood of an electric car, don't expect a grand spectacle of steel and fire. There's no colossal engine block, no pistons dancing like performers in a mechanical symphony, no tangled web of belts, or the pungent smell of gasoline, reminiscent of the days you stood in your father's garage, watching a roaring machine. Instead, you will see almost nothing. Clean, tidy space, so neat it's almost strange. An incredible silence. Because what makes an electric car different is not what you see, it's what you don't hear. Tonight we will dissect that silence. We will explore the three core components that have made this revolution possible. The three pieces that form the heart, the muscle, and the soul of an electric car. Get ready, because we are about to enter a world where technology is not just a tool, but a poem written in electricity and code. Let's start with the heart of this machine, the battery. Forget the heavy, bulky lead-acid batteries that your neighbor used to start his old truck. Instead, imagine a carpet of energy, an engineering masterpiece, flat woven from thousands of tiny lithium-ion cells, like the high-tech mints in your smartphone. These cells are perfectly arranged, connected in a complex dance of energy, lying neatly under the floor of the car. And you know what's amazing? This battery carpet doesn't just provide power, it completely changes how the car behaves. By placing the weight as low as possible, it creates a center of gravity that makes the car hug the road like a panther on the hunt, taking corners so smoothly you'll wonder if you're driving or gliding on an invisible track. But this battery isn't a lifeless lump of metal. It's alive. It's like a digital lung, inhaling a stream of electrons when you plug it in at night, and exhaling energy when you step on the accelerator, sending life to every wheel. Every time you press the pedal, those thousands of tiny cells sing in unison, not with sound, but with a pure, powerful flow of energy, ready to take you on a noiseless journey. And think about it, this heart never gets tired, never needs a rest, just needs to be refilled with energy like a superhero who never sleeps. But like every superhero, it also has its secret stories. Stories we will explore in the next part. Next, let's talk about the muscle of the electric car, the electric motor. For over a century, we've been mesmerized by the violence of the internal combustion engine. Think about it, a giant machine full of controlled mini explosions happening thousands of times per minute. Gasoline is injected, compressed, then ignited by a spark. Pistons are pushed up and down, the crankshaft spins wildly, and the whole process creates a noisy symphony of metal, heat, and smoke. Efficiency? Don't make me laugh. Most of the energy is turned into heat and roar, as if the machine is screaming, "Look at me, I am the king of the road." But the electric motor? That's a completely different story. It doesn't scream. It whispers. Imagine an elegant dance between a coil of copper wire and a magnet. When an electric current passes through, it creates a magnetic field, causing the motor to spin with the smoothness of a Swiss watch. No explosions, no pistons, no loud mechanical battles, just near absolute silence, with an efficiency of almost 90%. That's why when you step on the accelerator, an electric car doesn't shudder or roar, it just goes instantly, powerfully, as if you've just launched a spaceship. And the best part, the electric motor is so compact, you could fit it in a backpack, if you were strong enough to carry it. It doesn't need complex cooling systems or long exhaust pipes. It just needs a little space, a little electricity, and a little bit of magnetic magic. But don't let its simplicity fool you. These are the muscles of the future. No need to show off, no need to boast. But more powerful than any V8 engine ever dreamed of being. And finally, we come to the soul of the electric car, the software. Forget the image of a traditional car, where the brain is just a mess of wires and a few crude sensors. An electric car is no longer a mechanical machine. It is a smartphone on wheels. A supercomputer that knows how to drive, how to think, and even how to learn. Millions of lines of code are running at its core, controlling everything with astonishing precision. From managing each battery cell to ensure not a single drop of energy is wasted, to adjusting the braking force on each wheel in a millisecond to keep you safe on a slippery road. It's like having a genius engineer sitting right next to you, but one who never asks for a coffee break. And the best part, this car is constantly evolving. This morning, it might only know how to get you from home to the office. But tonight, after an over-the-air software update, it might be able to park itself, sing karaoke through the sound system, or even predict when you need a coffee based on your heart rate. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating about the coffee, but you get the idea, right? It's like an intelligent companion, always ready to learn and adapt. While old gasoline cars only know how to do one thing, roar and go. The electric car is a living machine, constantly improving itself. The battery is the heart, the motor is the muscle, the software is the soul. When these three pieces come together, they create a driving experience unlike anything you've ever known. Imagine sitting behind the wheel. You gently press the accelerator. There's no lag, no engine roaring to prove a point. Just an instantaneous push that presses you back into your seat, as if you've just been launched on a roller coaster. The car shoots forward in near absolute silence, leaving only the soft sound of tires on the road. The whistle of wind past the side mirrors, and if you listen closely, the beat of your own heart. You're not just driving, you're gliding. In that silence, you begin to notice things that were previously masked by the engine's roar. The birds singing outside the window, the pitter-patter of rain on the windshield, or simply your own thoughts, echoing clearly in the quiet space. It's not just a means of getting from point A to point B, it's a meditative space. A place where you can reconnect with yourself. A machine that not only takes you down roads, but also brings you to a state of calm, where the outside world seems to slow down. That idea of moving in silence. Does it excite you? Does it make you want to jump into an electric car and feel it for yourself? And as our world gradually shifts to these silent machines, what sound from traditional cars do you think you'll miss the most? The deafening roar of a V8 engine, like a wild beast set free? The screech of tires as you take a corner at high speed? Or just the heavy, satisfying clunk when you close the door of a classic muscle car? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what makes your heart race. Or rather, what makes you want to hit the gas. This silence is beautiful. The promise of a clean, smooth, and intelligent future is a dream worth pursuing. But like every dream, it has its price. Where do these batteries, motors, and software come from? Is this silence really as clean as we think? In the next part, we will uncover the hidden corners, digging into the dirty truth behind the clean cars. Get ready, because it won't just be a ride, it will be an adventure full of surprises. The dirty truth of clean cars. In the previous part, we popped the hood of a machine from the future. We admired the glittering heart of the lithium-ion battery, the smooth muscle of the electric motor, and the intelligent soul of the software, as smart as a prophet. We glided in silence, felt our own heartbeats, and dreamed of a clean, peaceful world where the roar of a V8 engine is just a memory. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. In electric cars, these symbols of green and clean are not quite the white-robed angels they're advertised to be. Join me as we dig deeper, tearing away the shiny veneer of this revolution to see what lies beneath the silence. We're going to talk about the dirty truth, from the dusty mines to the power-hungry factories, and the tough questions no one wants to answer. Let's start this journey with a cup of coffee, or better yet, a glass of water, since we're heading in an environmentally friendly direction, right? Let's go back to the heart of the electric car, the lithium-ion battery. It's an engineering marvel, undeniably. A flat carpet of energy woven from thousands of tiny cells, like the mints in your phone, but powerful enough to launch an SUV like a roller coaster. But have you ever wondered where those batteries come from? Imagine a mine in a remote corner of the world, maybe in Chile, Australia, or the Congo. Vast, reddish, dusty landscapes where giant machines roar, digging up the earth for lithium, cobalt, and nickel. These materials are the lifeblood of EV batteries. But mining them? Oh, it's nothing like an eco-friendly picnic. Lithium is extracted from arid salt flats, where water a resource more precious than gold in some places. It's pumped from the ground in enormous quantities to extract the mineral. In places like Bolivia, local communities watch their lakes dry up. They wonder, oh, so this is the price for the world to drive clean cars? And cobalt. Most of it comes from the Congo, where mines sometimes use child labor. Small dust-covered hands dig in harsh conditions to bring us those shiny batteries. That's right, the green heart of your electric car might be beating with sweat and tears. And let's not forget the manufacturing of these batteries. Giant factories, consuming electricity like a hungry dragon, are often powered by, you guessed it, coal. Yes, the very fossil fuel we're trying to eliminate. Ironic, isn't it? You drive a zero-emission car, but the factory that made its battery spews black smoke into the sky like a Victorian chimney. Next is the muscle of the electric car, the electric motor. We've praised its elegance, no pistons, no explosions, just magnetic fields and smooth rotations. Nearly 90% efficient, making the internal combustion engine look like a prehistoric machine. But hold on. To make an electric motor, you need magnets. For strong magnets, you need neodymium, a rare earth metal. Often mined in China under conditions not much different from lithium or cobalt mining. Neodymium mines leave behind toxic tailing ponds filled with chemicals whose names would make you shudder. And then do you think the copper coils in the electric motor just magically appear? No. Copper is also dug from the ground, and that process often involves destroying landscapes, polluting rivers, and making environmentalists sigh in despair. Don't get me wrong. The electric motor is still a huge leap forward compared to the internal combustion engine. But if you think it's created in some Garden of Eden, I'm afraid you're daydreaming. Now, for the soul of the electric car, the software. This is what turns your car into a smartphone on wheels. Millions of lines of code, controlling everything from energy distribution to insuring you don't crash into the truck ahead while you're busy checking messages. But software isn't just zeros and ones floating in cyberspace. It runs on massive data centers, server farms that consume more electricity than a small town. And guess what? Many of these data centers still run on fossil fuels. And then, every time your car downloads a new software update to enable self-parking or karaoke through the speakers, it's consuming a significant amount of energy. Not to mention, these updates often require more powerful hardware, meaning your car could become e-waste faster than you think. Funnily enough, we used to laugh at phones that became obsolete in a year. Now, we have cars playing the same game. Now, let's talk about the end of the story. When your electric car dies, lithium-ion batteries don't last forever. After about 10 to 20 years, they start to weaken like a rock star past their prime. It's no longer strong enough to perform. So what do we do with those batteries? Recycle them, right? Well, it sounds simple, but in reality, it's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube in the dark. Recycling lithium-ion batteries is a complex, expensive process, and currently, only a small fraction of batteries are properly recycled. The rest? They end up in landfills, or worse, are shipped to developing countries where they become someone else's problem. And don't forget the rest of the car. Composite materials, grade plastics, and electronic components in an EV are not as easy to recycle as the steel from an old gasoline car. We are creating magnificent machines, but also future headaches. Finally, let's talk about what makes an electric car clean: the energy used to charge it. If you live somewhere like Norway, where most electricity comes from hydropower, then congratulations, you are truly driving a green machine. But if you're in a place where the grid still relies on coal or natural gas, like many places in the world, then your electric car is only slightly cleaner than a gasoline car. The reality is, for electric cars to be truly zero emission, we need a clean power grid. And that requires wind farms, solar fields, and maybe even nuclear reactors. Things that make policymakers break a sweat just thinking about them. So, does this mean electric cars are a big lie? Not exactly. They are still a huge step forward from gasoline cars. They emit less CO2 over their lifetime, even when you factor in the dusty mines and smoky factories. They bring cleaner air to our cities, and they are a reminder that we can do better. But we need to be honest. The silence of the electric car is a miracle, but it's built on a foundation that isn't entirely clean. The mines, the factories, the coal-powered grids. That's the price we're paying for this dream. And here's the funniest part. We, the car lovers, often don't care about these dirty details. We just want the feeling of being pushed back in our seats, the sound of the wind whistling past the mirrors, and the feeling that we're driving a spaceship. So, let me ask you, when you drive an electric car, do you think about the cobalt mines in the Congo? Or do you just enjoy the silence and tell yourself the future is amazing? Share your thoughts in the comments. No. And if you miss the roar of a V8 engine, don't worry. I do too. Maybe we'll keep an old Mustang in the garage just to start it up occasionally and hear it sing. In the next part, we'll look further ahead. To a future where electric cars are not just cars, but part of an intelligent ecosystem. But are we ready for the price of that future? The digital conquer. In the last part, we journeyed across the fiery red deserts of Chile, waded through the dusty mines of the Congo, and saw the steep prices, both environmental and human, paid to create clean electric cars. We realized that the promise of a beautiful green future is sometimes stained with blemishes that are not easily wiped away. But you know, the story doesn't end with mines or smoke-belching factories. The real issue, the bigger issue, doesn't lie in the hardware, the batteries, the motors, or the copper coils. It lies in the invisible thing, the thing that is silently controlling everything. The millions of lines of code, zeros and ones, that are quietly taking over not just your car, but your life. Tonight, we're not popping the hood anymore. We're hacking into the system. We're going to talk about the software, the digital soul of the electric car, and about a silent conquest, where the car your grandfather proudly washed every weekend is turning into something else entirely. Something that, if I had to name it, I would call a spy on wheels. Prepare yourselves, because we are about to enter a world where convenience comes with a sly smile and a dozens of pages-long contract that no one bothers to read. The car is no longer a car. Welcome to the age of the smartphone on wheels. Let's start with a harsh truth. Your electric car is no longer a car. It's not the simple mechanical machine you can take apart with a wrench and a bit of sweat. No, no, no. It is a smartphone on wheels, supercomputer that can roll, that can think for itself. And if you're not careful, that might know more about you than your own mother. In a traditional gasoline car, you are the boss. You press the gas pedal. The mechanical cable pulls open the throttle. Fuel flows in. And the engine roars like an angered beast. You turn the steering wheel. A system of metal rods and gears dutifully turns the wheels. Everything is clear, direct, like a straightforward conversation between you and the machine. But in an electric car? Oh, you're no longer the boss? You're just making a suggestion. When you press the accelerator, you're not actually controlling the motor. You're just sending an electronic signal to a cold, calculating supercomputer, which will sit there, sipping data like a wine critic, analyzing your speed, tire grip, battery status, and maybe even your mood, okay? The mood part is a joke. Or is it? Only when the computer agrees with your proposal does it send power to the motor. And that intelligence brings miracles. Imagine, you go to bed, leaving your car in the garage. While you're dreaming of driving on a coastal road, your car is quietly downloading a software update over Wi-Fi. The next morning you wake up to find your car can now park itself, adjust its speed on the highway, or even play your favorite song the moment you open the door. It's as if the car attended a skills workshop while you were asleep. But you know what? Every magic trick has its price. And the price of this intelligence is something you can't pay for with cash at the store. Think about the phone in your pocket. It knows where you go, who you text, whether you prefer faux or bun bow. Now imagine your electric car is just as curious. It doesn't just know where you are. Any GPS can do that. It knows where you've been, how long you stopped at the coffee shop, or if you have a habit of accelerating like an F1 driver every time the light turns green. Some electric cars even have cameras and microphones in the cabin. Yes, you heard that right. It can record you lip-syncing to your favorite pop song. And trust me, you don't want that video leaked. It can hear you arguing with your friends about whether to have pizza or sushi for dinner. And all that data, it gets sent somewhere, to servers in places you'll never see, and to improve the user experience. Or at least that's what the manufacturers say. Imagine you're at a party and there's a guy in the corner taking notes on everything you say. Everywhere you go and everyone you meet, how would you feel now? That guy is your car. And no, you can't tell him to go home. I'm fine. The philosophical question here is, do you own the car, or is the car owning you? Speaking of ownership, let's make one thing clear. When you buy a gasoline car, it's yours. You can take it apart, paint it bubblegum pink, or bolt on a giant spoiler that looks like it belongs to Batman. You are the king, and the car is your kingdom. But with an electric car, well, things get complicated. You think you bought the car, but in reality, you may have just bought a license to use a software-controlled machine. The manufacturer, the one holding the keys to the code, is the real owner. Imagine this. You buy an electric car with heated seats, a wonderful feature for cold winter days. But one fine day, you get a notification. Please pay $10 a month to continue using the heated seats. You think, what? The heating elements are right under me? I already paid for them. But no, a remote software update can turn them off. As if the car is playing a game of punishment, because you won't shell out more money. This is not a joke. Some car companies have already started testing the feature subscription model. Want faster acceleration? Pay an extra $5 a month. Want an autonomous driving system? $1.20 a month. Want the interior lights to change color with your mood? Oh, you know the drill. It's like buying a pizza, but having to pay extra every time you want to eat a slice. Worse, like buying a sofa, but having to pay a fee to sit on it. The very concept of ownership is being redefined, and I'm not sure we're ready to accept it. And now for the scariest part. The thing that will make you want to double-check your Wi-Fi password immediately. If your car is a computer, then it can also be hacked. Imagine you're driving on the highway. Wind in your hair or helmet, your choice. Suddenly the radio blasts at full volume, playing a horror movie theme song you swear you've never heard. The windshield wipers start flapping like a disco dancer, even though the sun is shining. Then the most terrifying thing happens. The steering wheel turns on its own. The brake pedal becomes a useless brick. And you realize you are no longer in control of the car. You are just a passenger. Trapped in a metal coffin being controlled by a hacker on another continent, sipping coffee and chuckling at their computer screen. This isn't a scenario from a sci-fi movie. White hat hackers, the good guys who find security flaws, have already proven they can break into an EV system. It's taken remote control of everything from opening the doors to shutting down the engine. And don't think you're safe because you set a super complex password like 1234. Modern cars are connected to the internet 24/7, and every connection is a potential door for uninvited guests. So how do you feel knowing your car might be sending your travel logs to a server in Silicon Valley? Or that it could be hacked by a smart teenager with an old laptop? Is the convenience of a smart car worth the trade-off? How much privacy are you willing to give up for a silent ride in warm heated seats? And if the manufacturer decides to turn off your favorite feature just because you forgot to pay the monthly fee, what will you do? Write a complaint letter or just sit there and accept it? 8. Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you have an old gasoline car in the garage, maybe it's time to start it up. Just to remind yourself that there was a time when cars didn't require you to sign a contract with an AI. The electric car revolution isn't just about silence or the environment. It's a battle for power, the power of data, of software, and of the tech giants who are reshaping the world. In the next part, we will step onto the global stage, where nations, corporations, and even ideas are vying for the throne of the most important industry of the 21st century. Get ready, because this chessboard has more than just cars. It has our future at stake. The Global Chessboard. In the previous parts, we entered a troubling territory. A world where the car in your garage is not just a mode of transport, but a device that can eavesdrop on you. Collecting data from every journey, every conversation. World where your ownership of the car can be revoked with a remote software update, like a pawn removed from the board without warning. A war for data. But that is just one small piece of a much larger picture. Because the electric vehicle revolution is not just reshaping the relationship between humans and machines. It is rewriting the rules of global power, reshaping the relationships between nations, economies, and even strategic alliances. Tonight, we will leave the lines of code in the tech labs. We'll move away from the boardrooms of auto corporations. Instead, we will stand on a high mountain, looking down at the global chessboard, where electric vehicles are no longer just consumer products. They have become pieces in a fierce game of power, where every move can change the destiny of the world. Join me as we step into the center of this game. Let's look at the main players, the forces vying for dominance on this geopolitical chessboard. In one corner of the board, we have the United States, represented by a brilliant disruptor, Tesla. For over a decade, Tesla has been like a storm, a lone rider, shaking the entire global auto industry. Have mocked the old giants of Detroit, Stuttgart, and Tokyo. They have redefined the concept of a car, not just a vehicle, but a technology platform, a supercomputer on wheels. Tesla is the symbol of innovation, of the Silicon Valley spirit, where bold ideas are not afraid to challenge the status quo. But Tesla is not just a company. It is the embodiment of American ambition to lead the technological revolution. Every Tesla car that leaves the factory carries not only the company's logo, but also the pride of a nation that wants to maintain its superpower status in a changing world. In the opposite corner of the board is China, a giant rising at a dizzying pace. Their trump card is BYD, a name that a decade ago was little known, but has now become an obsession for global automakers. BYD doesn't just produce electric cars. They also produce batteries, controlling a large part of the global supply chain, from lithium to cobalt. They have the backing of a government with a long-term strategic vision. A government that does not hesitate to invest hundreds of billions of dollars to turn China into the epicenter of the EV revolution. China is not just playing on this board to sell cars. They are playing to reshape the global economic order, to ensure that the 21st century will be their century. Surrounding these two giants are the old empires trying to fight back. In Europe, we have Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW, names synonymous with quality and heritage. In Japan, Toyota and Nissan represent durability and the spirit of continuous improvement. But they are all facing an existential question. Can they adapt fast enough in a world where technology changes daily? Or will they become the Nokias of the auto industry giants that once dominated, but were left behind by their slowness in keeping up with the times? For many years, this competition seemed to be just a healthy business race, a battle between brands to gain market share, to produce faster, cheaper, and more environmentally friendly cars. But then the curtain was pulled back, revealing a different truth. Electric vehicles are no longer just consumer products. They have become a strategic card in the tense confrontation between superpowers, especially between the US and China. Think about oil in the 20th century. Whoever controlled the oil controlled the world. Wars were fought, alliances were formed, and empires fell all because of oil fields. In the 21st century, the battle is no longer just about the energy to run the machine. It's about the technology to shape the future. In electric vehicles, along with the batteries inside them, are the central battlefield of that war. This war is being fought on multiple fronts, each one fierce and decisive. 1. The tariff front. In the US, the government has imposed sky-high tariffs on Chinese EVs to protect the domestic industry. This move is not only aimed at protecting Tesla and other American manufacturers, but is also an effort to slow China's advance on the international stage. In response, China has used its own weapon, controlling the export of rare minerals, like lithium and cobalt, which are essential for producing EV batteries. Such a move not only increases production costs for Western companies, but also sends a clear message. China is not afraid to play hardball. 2. The supply chain front. This battle is not just happening in boardrooms or on production lines. It's happening in the lithium mines of South America, the cobalt processing plants in Africa, and the seaports where containers of minerals are shipped around the world. Whoever controls the supply chain holds the opponent by the throat. China has invested heavily in overseas mineral mines, from Chile to the Congo, ensuring they not only produce the batteries, but also control the raw materials. Meanwhile, the US and Europe are racing to reduce their dependence on China, but the road ahead is long. 3. The data front. As we discussed in the previous part, every electric car is a mobile data collector. A Tesla driving on the streets of Shanghai could be sending data back to its headquarters in California. A BYD sold in Berlin could be transmitting information to Beijing. In a world where data is hailed as the new oil, these cars are not just vehicles. They are intelligence soldiers, collecting information on user behavior, urban infrastructure, and even military secrets. If they happen to drive past a sensitive area, in this fierce technological war, all sides are pouring all their resources into finding one thing, an ultimate weapon that could decide the final winner. It's called the solid-state battery. Imagine a battery that no longer uses a flammable liquid electrolyte. Instead, it's a solid block, safer, with no risk of fire. It can be fully charged in 10 minutes, yet still power a car for 500 kilometers, about 300 miles. More importantly, it has a higher energy density, allowing cars to go farther with a smaller battery size. The solid-state battery is not just a technological step forward, it is a revolution, something that could reshape the auto industry and the entire global energy sector. Whoever masters the solid-state battery will dominate the market for decades to come. The race to commercialize solid-state batteries is happening in secret. In labs in Silicon Valley, Shenzhen, Tokyo, and Stuttgart, scientists work day and night, corporations spend billions of dollars, and governments quietly provide funding, hoping their team will be the first to cross the finish line. The winner won't just sell more cars. They will hold the key to the future of energy and transportation. They will become the Saudi Arabia of the 21st century, not based on oil but on battery technology. The electric vehicle revolution began with a beautiful promise: a greener, cleaner world where machines no longer depend on fossil fuels. But now, it is leading us to a more polarized world, where nations are divided into factions, and every choice we make carries geopolitical significance. Did you ever think that one day, the car brand you choose would not just be a personal decision, but also a political statement? That driving a Tesla, a BYD, or a Volkswagen would say which side you're on in a global confrontation? That the car in your garage could become a symbol of loyalty to a nation, a value system, or a world order? The thought that even a simple choice like buying a car could be swept up in a geopolitical chess game, does it make you tired? Does it make you wonder if we are trading our personal freedom to become part of a larger war? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, what do you think about the future of electric cars? Will it bring us to a better world, or just a new battlefield for old conflicts? We have journeyed through a high-stakes chess game of giants, where every move is calculated and every piece carries a meaning greater than itself. But this game is not over. In the final part, we will look towards the horizon, where the road of the future is gradually appearing. Join me to discover, what will that future look like? The road beyond the horizon. In the previous part, we stood on the brink of a fierce global chessboard. We witnessed electric cars machines, once seen as symbols of progress, turn into pawns in a power game between superpowers. A war not just for markets, but for the right to shape the future of humanity. But that future, if we win, what will it look like? What is the promise at the end of the road? And more importantly, who is that promise for? Tonight, in the final part of this long journey, I invite you to take one last trip with me, not back to the past, where the dreams of a greener world were first kindled. We're stopping in the present, where nations are fighting for every small advantage, but moving forward to a possible future. Join me in the year 2050. Imagine a city no longer filled with gas stations and their acrid smell, no more plumes of black smoke rising from engines. Instead, you see lovely small parks, solar panels glittering in the sun, and wireless charging stations hidden beneath the road surface, operating as silently as part of the urban landscape. On the roads, fully autonomous cars glide in silence, communicating with each other in an invisible digital language faster than human thought. No more honking horns, no more collisions due to human error. Traffic jams are just a distant memory, not to drive, but to read a book, work on a holographic screen, or simply watch the world go by through the window. The batteries that power these cars are no longer a burden on the environment. They are part of a closed-loop cycle. When a battery reaches the end of its life, it is not thrown into a giant landfill. Instead, it is collected, disassembled, and 100% of its materials are recycled to create new batteries. No more mines devastating the landscape, no more communities harmed by the extraction of lithium or cobalt. Everything is reused, recycled, just as nature intended. This is a world powered by clean energy, connected by a smart transportation network, and enveloped in silence. A world where clean air is no longer a privilege, but a basic right for everyone. That is the promise. That is the utopia that the electric vehicle revolution promised from its earliest days. But then there is one final question. A question not just about technology, not just about batteries or algorithms. A question about ourselves, about the society we are building. Is this electrified future for everyone? Or only for those who can afford a ticket? Think about that for a moment. While the wealthy glide in silent self-driving cars, living in smart cities with clean air and flawless roads, what will happen to everyone else? The ordinary workers, the families struggling to pay their bills, the communities in remote areas. They might continue to use old gasoline cars, polluting the air and facing ever-increasing environmental taxes designed to force the switch to EVs. But if they can't afford an expensive electric car, what will they do? Will they be pushed out of the game of personal mobility, forced to rely on overcrowded, deteriorating public transport systems, or ones that don't even exist where they live? Are we inadvertently building a two-tiered future? A world where the clean class, those who can afford EVs, live in smart cities, enjoy fresh air, separated from the dirty class, those trapped with old machines, smoke-filled slums, and shrinking opportunities? Could the promise of a greener, cleaner planet be built on a foundation of deeper social inequality? Are we creating a world where technology, once praised as a democratizing force, becomes a tool to divide people? The electric vehicle revolution, in the end, is not just a technological revolution. It's not just about solid-state batteries, self-driving algorithms, or global supply chains. It is a social experiment, a test of how we treat each other, of how we distribute the benefits of progress. It poses a bigger question. What kind of future do we want to build, and for whom? A future where only the privileged can enjoy clean air, convenience, and freedom of movement? Or a future where those values are fundamental rights, not the privileges of a select few? The answer to that question doesn't lie in the labs of Silicon Valley or Shenzhen. It doesn't lie in the boardrooms of Tesla, BYD, or Volkswagen. It lies within OSIN, our choices as citizens, consumers, and human beings. We can choose to consume consciously, supporting companies and policies that prioritize fairness and sustainability. We can demand that our governments invest in clean public transportation, in subsidy programs to make EVs more accessible to everyone. We can ask questions, debate, and demand a future that is not only green, but also just. Thank you for joining Sleepless Mind through the 6 parts of this complex journey. From the early days of the EV revolution, when it was just a bold dream, to the dirty truths hidden behind the glamour, from data wars to the global power chessboard, your patience, curiosity, and reflections are an invaluable inspiration to us. If these stories have touched you, if they have made you think, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to explore the big questions together in the long nights ahead. It's very late now. The next time you see an electric car glide silently down the street, pause for a moment. Don't just see it as a car. See it as a promise of a better world. But also see it as a gamble, an unanswered question about the future we are building together. Where will you choose to stand in this story? Which road will you drive? Good night.
You've crossed the story. You felt every pulse in the dark, and I was there with you, quietly, always. That's why I left behind one last thing. Not to explain, not to impress, just to stay with you a little longer. A song I chose with care, as if tucking you in from across time and space. So go on, lay back, the music knows where to take you. if you're still here, then you're something rare. Not many stay this long. So, thank you for choosing to stay. I'm here too, still awake, surrounded by the quiet glow of my editing screen, shaping the next stories just for you. If there's anything you want to leave behind, a whisper, a suggestion, even just a symbol, drop it in the comments. Because maybe, tomorrow night, you'll hear yourself echoed in a story that's never been told before. still here, even now? I have a feeling part of you is still wandering somewhere between wakefulness and dreaming. I know that feeling well because I'm still awake with you. In a quiet room, I'm gently laying out layers of sound, each breath, each beat, preparing the next journey we'll take together. If you're still listening, leave me a sign. Let me know how you're feeling or just where you are in this vast world. Because right now, in this stillness, you are not alone. You're still there, aren't you? I can't see you, but I can feel you. Like a soft signal pulsing across the silence. Over here, I'm still working, refining layers of sound, rewriting fragments of voice, building the landscape for our next adventure. One that you might inspire. If an idea comes to you, share it with me. Comment below. A theme, a memory, a strange dream. I read every word because I never tell these stories alone. I tell them with you.